floor. Couldn't bear it without you. Don't get around much anymore. Thought I'd visit the club. Got as far as the door. They have asked me about you. Don't get around much anymore. Oh, darling, I guess my mind's more at ease. But nevertheless, why bring back old memories? Been invited on dates. Might have gone, but what for? Awfully different without you. Don't get around much anymore. It must have been moon glow, way up in the blue. It must have been moon glow that led me straight to you. I still hear you saying, dear one, hold me fast. And I start praying, oh Lord, please let this last. Songs seem to come from everywhere. And now that there's moon glow way up in the blue, I'll always remember that moon glow gave me you. That moon glow gave me you. That moon glow gave me you. Missed the Saturday dance. Heard they crowded the floor. Couldn't bear it without you. Don't get around much anymore. Thought I'd visit the club. Got as far as the door. They have asked me about you. Don't get around much anymore. Oh, darling, I guess my mind's more at ease. But nevertheless, why bring back old memories? Been invited on dates. Might have gone, but what for?
Woo-hoo!
All right, aloha everyone.
Aloha, everybody.
Sorry about the late start. We've been having some issues that were solved, I hope.
Yay! Hooray for our
Sure.
tech guru, Mr. Chee.
Let's see. So we'll put this over here.
And I'm really, really glad that you guys were able to join us today. Hopefully, let us know. Everything should be in sync, but definitely let us know if there's any issues with the sound or if we sound really, really loud or whatnot.
All right, so we're gonna do a quick sound check just for you guys. How does that sound? Oh, it's so good to see you guys. This
Oh,
is
good.
so
Thanks,
much
Clay.
fun.
And what about this one? Hopefully that one sounds good also. We can't wait to come to Berlin. That is going to be so much fun. Yay!
Awesome.
Glad it's
So
all sounding good.
Here's the game plan, because I desperately need more coffee. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna put the iPad up. Hopefully it's working. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna teach you guys an arrangement that we did for our latest Ute cruise, which was a lot of fun. So we're gonna jam along, and we are going to do some cool things with the arrangement. So I'm gonna have Sarah kind of walk you through the basic version, and I'll come right back with some coffee, and we'll do some additional things with it as well.
Awesome. Hi, Nels. It's good to see you as well. I know it has been a while. All right, so I'm a believer. This is what we did on our cruise ship. Those of you guys, like I know Mark and Priya, are joining us from being on the cruise with us. I hope this will bring back some fond memories of our really fun performance. You can actually see, I believe we uploaded the performance video on our YouTube channel if you want to check it out. But to start off, fairly easy. We're in G, and let's just play through it. And keep in mind that I might do some stops and starts. For example, then I saw her face. You'll notice that the G, the C, and the G have sort of slash marks. That's just letting you know how many down strums we're doing. So it means we're going to be doing some rests and things like that. So let's just start. Just starting with the very beginning. 1, 2, 3, 4. I thought love was only true in fairy tales, meant for someone else, but not for me. Love was out to get me, da 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 da. That's the way it seemed. See, disappointment haunted all my dreams. And stop. Then I saw her face. Now I'm a believer, not a trace of doubt in my mind. I'm in love, ooh, I'm a believer. I couldn't leave her if I tried. I thought love was more or less a given thing. Seems the more I gave, the less I got. What's the point of trying? Da 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 da. All you get is pain. Da 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 da. Disappointment haunted all my dreams. I messed up that line, but that's okay. I saw her face. Now I'm a believer, not a trace of doubt in my mind. I'm in love, ooh, I'm a believer. I couldn't leave her if I tried. Something like that, except I do have a lyric that I totally forgot to change. The very last line of the second verse, you'll notice that disappointment haunted all my dreams. That's actually not the right lyrics. It should be when I needed sunshine, I got rain. So sorry about that. I'll end up fixing it a little bit later. But you can see, so when we get to the chorus, you know, we're going to be doing we're going to be doing G, C, and G. Now, if you remember from past live streams, or if you're part of or done lessons with us, either through Artist Works or even workshops, you can do what I did, which is I actually ended up covering all of the strings and doing some scratching. So I ended up doing a rhythm that was down, up, down. down, up, down, right? So that was, and you can try it. 1, down, up, down, 1, down, up, down, 1, down, up, down, in order to get that. Or you don't have to play anything at all. You can just wait out the time and just do 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. The main thing is just to make sure that the G does not continue to ring, really. So then the other thing that I did was there's that D7 that has the asterisks. So I ended up playing a regular D7, and then I ended on, you'll notice that at the top I have the Hawaiian D7 listed with an asterisk next to it, and that is why. So I'm doing D7 and then end on D7. And I only strum that asterisk D7 once, 2, 3, 4. So let's see. So let's try going through just the chorus for a hot second. 1, 2, 3. Then I saw her face. Now I'm a believer. Not a trace of doubt in my mind. I'm in love, ooh. And these are just one. I'm a believer. I couldn't leave her if I tried. And 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's basically going through. So again, the I'm in love, ooh part, we're just letting those chords ring. Also, fun fact, if you are wanting to play chords in other positions, you totally can. And I know there's going to be another part that Craig is going to go over on this before we get to the brass tacks of the main part of our live stream. Yeah.
Okay, let's see if this works. I added myself. Woohoo!
Hey, there's Craig.
All right, so I got my gigantic thing of coffee. I got my little window next to the lyrics. So for me, when we arranged this song, I had some fun with it. There's so much energy in this song, right? And it's a part of, when Sarah kind of mentioned like the scratching and whatnot, especially if we're just playing with ukes, it's nice to have that kind of texture. There's so much you can do to help kind of push that vibe. Now, for the chorus, what I would love for you guys to try is we're going to mimic what the organ does.
Yeah.
And what the organ does is that when we have the, then I saw her face, we have the, which is a really fun line, and it just repeats. But especially when Sarah's playing the regular chords, it layers so nicely. Let's try that for a second. 1, 2, 3, 4. So what we're going to do here, middle finger is going to go across that 7th fret or index, whatever is easier for you, and then ring finger on the A string. So barring the 7th, and then a finger on the 8th of the A string. So this is a G7, so we're actually layering a G7 on top of that regular G there, and we're going to do 2 hits. Now, there's a difference between... To me, that doesn't sound very organ-like. But when we pulse, when we do these kind of, we're going to squeeze and then release that tension. And that's going to give the effect that we're playing that organ, that piano, that bump, 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 bump. So it's going to sound like this. And what I'm doing with my right hand is I'm using the fatty part of my thumb. So it's a nice thick sound instead of a sharp, with the nail or with my index. So it's a nice fatty sound with the side of my thumb. And again, I'm pressing and releasing that tension with that left hand. So this is going to look like, let me hide my face. Let's see if it focuses, maybe, yep. So as you can see, I'm going to just squeeze and release that tension when I want it to play. So again, it's going to, in slow motion, down, release, down, release, down, release. So I'm going to do 2 hits, 1, 2. Then I'm going to switch to what looks like a G chord, but on the 7th fret. So I have open, 7, 8, 7. Now, the tricky part about this is that we have an open string to mute. So you can either aim for the bottom 3 strings and do the same kind of pulse. But if you do all 4, you're gonna have that open G ringing, which might be okay if you're playing with other people. But what I'm gonna do is actually bring my pinky over to touch all 4 strings and stop that from vibrating just to get that sound again. And then for the last chord, it looks like an E flat, but I'm gonna do open 7 7 5. And again, I'm gonna use that pinky to mute. So it's gonna be 2 hits on each. 1 2 1 2 1. Oh, 1 chord. On that one. So one more time. 1 2 3 4 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 4. So it has that cool pulse, right? Just like the organ player during this section. So we're gonna try the chorus together. Oh, thanks, Sarah, for writing that out.
Yeah, so at the very bottom of our chart, you might have noticed that I was sneakily writing some of the chords out, so you can look down there for reference if you would like.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so 1 2 3.
All right, I'll come in this time. Not a trace of doubt in my mind.
Nice.
Yeah.
See, doesn't it sound so cool having that range of sound to kind of pull from? And again, it's a very simple arrangement with just 2 parts. Now the next part, I'm in love. We're gonna do regular G, slide that back up to the 7th fret for the C. Ooh, I'm a believer. This guy again, 0 7 7 5, and then 2 frets down, and we're gonna layer that over the F chord, which is a F add 9 in this case, and
Which
then.
3 3rd fret, you
So
said?
0 5 5 3.
Okay.
And to the D7, and what I want to do here for something kind of fun is I'm going to play a D7, down, down, up, and then I'm going to flatten my index, bring down my middle finger so it looks like a B flat 7, and then I'm going to do 1 2 3 4 1, 1 2 3 4 1. And I'm going to land on the 5th fret with my index, middle finger on the C string, 6th fret. So again, it's going to sound like this from that D7, down, down, up. I'm going to say, I'm going to do 1 E and or 1 2 3 4 E and a 1. So we'll do over 4 E and a 1. One more time, 4 E and a 1. Now the secret to a good kind of power slide like that is we want to press down at 68% pressure.
Very scientific.
68% pressure. This is the reason why. If we squeeze too hard for that slide, it's too wacky sounding.
And it gets
right?
messy.
And if you do it too light, we don't have that cool kind of walk up sound. But 68% pressure gives us a little bit of both, which is perfect. See, it's science. Now, so that means one more time from the D7, down, down, up, 4 E and a 1, 2, 3. Again, down, down, up, 4 E and a 1, 2, 3, 4, down, down, up, 4 E and a 1. Good. And again, the 4 E and a 1 is just down, up, 1. Make sure you take your time with that slide too. You don't want to, go too fast and then you're stuck with only a little bit left. So
Right.
4 E and a 1. All right, nice job. So the whole chorus is going to sound like this for the alternative part.
Do you want me to play the regular chords?
Sure.
Okay.
Then I saw her face. Now I'm a believer. Not a trace or doubt in my mind. I'm in love. Slide up to the 7th fret. I'm a believer. I couldn't leave her if I down, down, up, 4 E and a 1. All right, nice job. And I was so proud of our Uke Cruise group. They just
so
nailed it.
good.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
All right, let's try go through one time through with the oh, and if you pick a little bit, there's a little bit of part there which will be kind of fun. Middle finger on the 1st fret of the C string. We're gonna pluck it once, slide up to the 2nd fret, and then play the 1st fret on the E string. So it's gonna sound like this. And there's a couple of variations of that, but that's the gist of that section, and you'll hear it. We'll try it out. So, from the beginning.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. I thought love was only true in fairy tales, meant for someone else, but not for me. Love was out to get me. That's the way it seemed. Disappointment haunted all my dreams. Then I saw her face. Now I'm a believer. Not a trace, a doubt in my mind. I'm in love. Ooh, I'm a believer. Couldn't leave her if I tried.
Oh, except I played the picking part instead of the slide. So you can either choose one or the other, I guess, at that point. Now, let me turn this mic down just a hair because we're clipping just a little bit.
Yeah, so when we did it on the cruise ship, we did the 1, 2, 1, 2, and 40 and a 1. We did that version, right? But you could do the other version, which we did not. Be careful, Craig. Hot
that
coffee.
That was so hot. I'm going to take the lid off for a little bit.
And also, I noticed, by the way, somebody's noticed earlier my shirt. Yes, this is the Kanilea Reforest Hawaii shirt. I have 2 of these shirts, actually. I love them. But you can always, if you are interested more about the project, all you have to do is look up, I think it's reforesthawaii.org, but you can just look up Reforest Hawaii and you'll see about this, and you can have your own koa tree. It's pretty neat. But yeah, but I figured this is one of my favorite shirts. I thought I'd wear it today.
Awesome. Now, let's see. One other thing that I'm doing, I don't know if you could actually see it, but I'm sure you could hear it, is that when we're playing over the regular verse, I'm changing up the hits just a little bit. Just, again, we don't always want to be playing the exact same strum. So if Sarah's holding down the rhythm,
right,
I'll do something like thumb, A, E, thumb, pinch, thumb. So a lot of it, I'm just isolating. I'm not even doing anything fancy with that left hand. I'm just isolating how I'm hitting those notes in that chord.
Yeah.
So thumb, A, E, thumb, pluck, thumb, pluck, thumb, A, E, thumb, A, E, thumb, A, E, thumb, pluck, thumb, A, E. And it just, even though we're playing the exact same notes, but how we're approaching it makes it more interesting to the ear. And again, imagine then if I played those chords in a different place. So for example, if I played the G chord up here, and then the D chord and C chord sound like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, just to create a lot of the times when we add to these arrangements and we try to make it more clever, we try to make it more full, we end up doing way too much, and we all end up doing like these crazy strums. And I want you to remember when you first heard like the Beatles play, or you first heard some of your favorite bands, a lot of times if you isolate one person's part, it's actually incredibly simple and it's very laid back. They're not all doing a really quick and exotic type of strum or pattern. So a lot of times we're just kind of filling in these little hits, and that's the most important thing to remember when you're starting to play with others.
Yeah.
And again, we are going to be talking about how to practice playing and singing at the same time, but maybe we'll go through this one more time.
And one other thing that I wanted to add as well to what Craig just mentioned is, we've talked about this before in other live streams, but just to sort of remind you that when you're playing with other people, it's like you're having a conversation. Because music in itself is a language, and you're playing a song to be able to express yourself, whatever that expression may be, whether it's expressing joy or just trying to make sure that you really support the story of the song. So I wouldn't strum loud and proud over Craig singing, because that would be like me interrupting his story and going, hey, 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 like really, really loud, and that would not be appreciated. So just think about that as well. You want to try to compliment whomever you're playing with.
Okay. Now, actually, should we get into the bulk of our thing now and then play this again at the end?
Yeah, we can certainly do that.
Let's do that.
Okay.
Let's do that because I want to make sure we get to the meat and potatoes first since we started a little bit late.
No problem.
So let's see what I'm gonna do.
So,
is-
sort of the meat and potatoes of what we're going to be talking about is ways to sort of practice and get used to playing and basically playing and singing with yourself. It can actually be a lot harder than you think. Like everybody says, oh, it's so easy. And when you really think about it, it's actually not that easy. Because
Okay.
remember, think about all the things you have to remember, which is you have to remember the lyrics. You have to remember the melody of the song. Then you need to remember the rhythm of the tune. And then you need to remember the order in which the lyrics happen and the chorus. And then you also need to think about what chords are being played and remember where to put your fingers for those chords. And then remember what to do with your strumming hand. I mean, there's a lot that you're asking yourself to do when you are singing and playing at the same time.
Yeah, and I'm gonna do a little spiel. You can close up the curtain a bit more.
Oh, sure.
I'm gonna do a little spiel about kind of my angle, my main kind of gist, and then Sarah's gonna add to those ideas and expand on them, and using the iPad as well. That's still on good. So for me, playing and singing at the same time was incredibly difficult at first, and I just couldn't comprehend how you could do these completely different things at the same time. My main thing is to isolate, as always, one thing at a time. So for me, it was all about getting whatever strum pattern I needed to get down first. So even if you're a very, very beginner, part of it is just if you can strum to the beat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, or using your index, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Because once you get that beat down, once you can do that with your eyes closed or being able to have a conversation, and I think, again, I think I brought this up in the last live stream, but, one of my recent challenges to one of our students, Brian Lee Bauer, was to start reading the newspaper while he is practicing, strumming or picking. And it's one of those things that we need to kind of be able to have this part down so well that I could play this, I could keep my time, and still have a conversation. And it doesn't have to be a conversation at first. It could be just reading, the newspaper, like I said earlier. So, for example, as Julia just realized, we're in the same room.
We are.
But I can read and strum at the same time. And again, part of it is starting at first, one word per beat maybe. So, for example, Aunt Lisa, hi Aunt Lisa, says,
Hi, Aunt Lisa.
yes, am a believer, 2, 2, 3, 4, sounds good. Trying to keep on the beat and then trying to separate it so that you can talk with some syncopation and more a natural way of speech while holding down that pattern. And again, it gets complicated when we do something even as simple as like the calypso strum or the down, down, up, down strum, right? So let's, for example, I'm doing this. And so for this drum, I'm doing the G, down, down, up, down, D twice, C twice, back to the down, down, up, down. And again, I can talk while doing this because I was able to kind of separate, the two sides, but I had to get this down first. Again, one of our downfalls is that we try to do way too much at once. So we're trying to learn the lyrics. We're trying to get down the pattern of the words, and the rhythm of the words, and practice a new strum. So
It's a lot.
and as you might have heard earlier, I kind of snuck in when we went over the chorus in the beginning of this live stream. I actually read through the words in tempo, but without worrying about pitch. I don't know if you guys caught that. So, for example,
Do you need me to go back to that
pull up
song?
what is the chorus start again? No, the song.
Oh, sorry, I have a different song.
Yeah, what
up
is
now.
the chorus again?
Then I saw her face.
So, I didn't sing it, but I said, when I saw her face. Now I'm a believer without a trace. So part of it for me, that build-up was getting to know where the lyrics fall within the chord structure, within the pattern, within the rhythm, and that allows me to, again, doing one thing at a time, and then I can I can actually sing over it with the pitch because I know where everything then lands. So one of the things I used to do, and Sarah, again, will be going over this in much more detail, but I used to, circle the start of the phrases on a sheet music that landed on that downbeat, because a lot of times, especially like club music that's shared, the chords are all over the place, right? They don't even land where they're supposed to land, so it's very confusing. So for me, there's so many little things that we can do to help set us up for success, and there's so many notes and so many things that you can underline for certain things, or a line over to hold to another chord, or like a slash to make sure it's a nice stop. But for lyrics, I always had to figure out where they landed in the phrase first, and then it was much easier to connect. My other big point too, especially for me, it was the Call Creator Boys all day, trying to do all the crazy stuff that Troy did. But when I played, I didn't sound exactly like the recordings. Or they do Beatles, or we do any kind of pop songs. We played a little differently. So my big thing is, especially because most people nowadays have smartphones, use your voice recorder app that comes free on all the smartphones, and just record yourself playing through a verse. Just the chords, not the singing, just the chords. Make sure you have that open, but play it as how you would play it. And then you practice to that recording, not the CD, but to your recording of it, because then you'll hear the nuances that you do. You'll start to learn where in the strum things should fall. But that's going to be a good way to kind of sync things up. And again, not to do too many things all at the same time. Mm-hmm. So for me, that was my big turning point on getting a lot of these things memorized and getting a lot of these things synced up. And again, I mastered one verse at a time. That's all I worked on, and then or worked on the chorus, so worked on the ending, and then mixed it up. But again, Sarah's gonna touch base on all of that moving forward. So I'll switch over to you guys, unless you guys have any questions.
And if you do, Craig will still be around to answer them as well. It's not like he's leaving and running off.
Oh, we can't wait to be back in Germany in a few weeks-ish?
Yeah,
3 weeks?
in a few
4
weeks we'll be doing our Berlin ukulele retreat. There's still just a handful of slots left, so anybody who would like to join us, please do. It's going to be a lot of classes, and the great thing about it is because we're keeping it a small group, you actually are going to get some individual time with us, which is something that we cherish as well. So we're very, very excited.
Aww.
Oh, yay! Aloha, Cheltenham!
Oh, we miss Cheltenham so much. Cheltenham is always has such a dear place in our hearts.
Yes, I love Allie and Phil and Tony.
I want to
and
show
Jody and
Julia
Hogan.
how close we actually are. But yes, we're set up in the same tiny room, with all kinds of cables running all over to make this work. But
we just make it look so fancy, like we're not. And the thing is, we used to have it set up so I was actually directly behind Craig, in the corner. And the funny thing was, if he moved in either direction, then you would see me. I think the first and second live stream, we set them up that way. But now, and we did, I think it was our last live stream, I think, where Craig had the GoPro and actually showed how tiny this room is, and how we set things up, and how giant these lights are in front of us.
All right, let's see if I get this to work. Let's see that one, maybe? Oh, yes.
Awesome. Yes. Oh, and looking forward to seeing you guys in Huddersfield as well. That's going to be before the Berlin retreat. We've actually got our master class, and I think there's 1 or 2 slots left in the master classes that both Craig and I are teaching. So if you haven't signed up for those, we highly recommend it, because those classes are also being kept small, and they're a bit longer as well. So that's going to be at the Grand Northern Ukulele Festival. And then right before that is going to be the Allegheny Soiree, Ukulele Soiree, and I know Rachel is going to be there, and I'm so excited.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun one.
Our second time back, and it's just...
Are we doing something before Allegheny?
Oh, we are doing... So right before that, though, we will actually be in Bethesda, Maryland. We get to do a full concert. That so rarely gets to happen. As much as we love festivals, your set's usually 20 minutes and done. And so you don't really get to tell many stories about the songs that you have written, or you don't really get to spend a lot of time connecting with the audience because you just need to play your songs and then get off the stage so that everybody else gets a chance to share. And so it's going to be an evening with us and our bass player Milo at it's Amp by Strathmore. And I'm really excited to be able to have a really intimate concert with everybody.
Please give Hazel our love, Eric.
Oh yes, please give Hazel a huge hug from us. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit and expand some on what Craig was talking about earlier. And I'm just using this song called Sunshine Go Away Today, so we wouldn't play I'm a Believer into the ground. So this song is a tune I've always really liked. If you haven't heard it before, you can look it up. Jonathan Edwards performs it. And it's a cool tune. And it's not a ton of chords, which is great. So Craig talks about, taking the time to circle what where the downbeat is. It's going to take me a second to get the thing so I can mark. Oh, come on. I got this earlier. There we go, mark up. Oh, that's not what I meant to do at all. So, you get to see Sarah and her tech-savvy skills. It's very exciting because she's not the most savvy. But anyway, we talk about circling, words. So, for example, on this song, let's just go through and play it before I start trying to mark things
Just
up and
press it
circling.
once,
Okay,
and then-
I'll work on that. All right, so let's go through it. It's in G, and I'm just going to do down strums. So you have sunshine go away today. And when you're starting on a song you don't know, it's always best to really just play as simply as possible. So you'll notice that sun, it does actually start on that beat. So I would circle that word, the word sun, out of sunshine, because I know that that's a good down strum. So sunshine go away, and then I would circle the word way, because that's the next downbeat of the next measure. So sunshine go away today, I don't. So then I would, the word don't, except not the T, because the T comes after in the next beat. I don't feel much like dance, and then we have that chord change happening. So let's see if I can get it to not turn the page. There we go. I knew I'd get it, folks. So I would go through and say, okay, sun away today, I don't feel much like, and then now we have a new chord, dancing. Some man's gone, he's tried to run my life. And going through and circling where each measure begins, I find to be super helpful. And what I would recommend too is, if you have a chord lyric sheet like this, is I would make several copies of it so that you can have different versions that you've marked all over it. But for me, I find that to be extremely helpful. Taking Craig's idea and recording yourself playing the song is huge, because then you can really focus on the lyrics portion. So for example, if I went through and recorded just simply sunshine go away today, I don't feel much like dancing. Some man's gone, he's tried to run my life, don't know what he's asking. But if I just record the rhythm part, then I don't have to worry about chord changes, which I think is a really big deal when you're trying to focus on learning your lyrics. It's not as fun maybe, but what I like to do is I'll record the voice memo, and then as I run errands, I will put that voice memo on repeat so that I can just sit there while I'm running my errands and sing the song. When we were recording the album Honeysuckle Rose, I did that. I recorded scratch tracks for me to practice to, so that I had lots of ample time while I ran errands and did various things to be able to just work on lyrics and also work on phrasing. It's a great way to do that. And if you also have the recording of just yourself, as Craig mentioned, you really get to hear the nuances of your own playing so that you know what sounds to expect when you start to put them together. The other thing I would also do is, if I'm not working on lyrics and I just want to work on the chords and memorizing my chords so that I at least remember what chords come next or what chords are even in the song, a lot of times I'll actually go through and don't think about the words, but maybe hum the tune. So doing ba ba dee ba dee ba da dee da dee do da da ba la dee da da. You get the idea. So even doing that to practice just your chord changes. I also like to break up songs. So I've only been going over a verse for a little bit. So then what I might do, instead of trying to play the whole thing, is then I will actually start taking a look at the chorus. So let's just take a second just to look at the chorus. So you've noticed that in this particular sheet that we created, that there's a slash thing next to that G over the word cost. How much does it cost? I wrote that in as my own signifier, saying you strum once and then there's silence until the next chord happens. You can do the note however you need to so that you can make it through the tune. So, but that was what that is implying in this particular one. And let's just go through this again using simple down strums. 1, 2, 3, 4. How much does it cost? I'll buy it. The time is all we've lost. I'll try it. He can't even run his own life. I'll be damned if he'll run mine. Sunshine. There we go. So that's the basic of the chorus that we've got there. And you can make yourself sort of little notations. So for example, I might end up doing, how much does it cost? Now I noticed that as I went through and played this with you, that I don't actually play that G on the word cost. So I might make a note of that saying, how much does it cost? It actually happens after I say the word. So I actually might make a little note. Maybe I'll mark it and just say, whoops, and write that incorrectly. There we go, G, and do my slash there. That way I have a better notation for myself so that if I put the song away for a little while, I'll remember, oh, that's right, that strum actually happens after the word, not on top of the word, right? Same with the word lost. I might say, oh, okay, we'll correct that and do this. And then everything else seemed like it was okay. So this is one way, if you have a lyric sheet, to be able to kind of mark it up and give yourself clues on it as to what you should be doing. Another thing, actually before I get into strumming patterns, another way that I actually like writing out songs is I, again, break it up into different parts. So for example, I'll actually go in and do something that looks like this, where I will do a semi-box chart, where I will write the name of the tune. You see it there. It's a very exciting thing. You know, the name of the song, Sunshine Go Away, and I'll write 4/4 time, so I remember that this particular chart's in 4/4 time. And then you'll see written next to it, which is me saying that the formula of the song, it's A, A, B, A, A, B, A, B, A. And what I've done here is you'll notice that I have an A circled, right? That's showing you that's my A section, and my B circled, and that's showing you that's my B section. So I actually went through and figured out how long everything was. This is something that's really, really handy if you're doing a song and the lyric sheet isn't making any sense to you. I would sit and take the time and go, okay, da 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 dee da da, and play through it and count as you go. I mean, even doing something as simple as 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 1. Doing something like that as I'm playing it so that then I can create a chart like what you see on the screen next to me. And you'll notice that there's one chord per box, and that means that each chord gets 4 beats because I am in 4/4 time. I drew here a little repeat sign just to remind me that, this is just one verse. If it's AA, don't forget to repeat that. And then I have my chorus listed below it. I say it's not a true box chart because it's not the song in its entirety, and it's not really written out 100% correctly. If I put this in front of a bass player, he'd get the gist of the tune, but it wouldn't be as good as actually creating a true chart for them. But I could get by at a jam if I hand this to a bass player and say, this is what we're gonna do. But I find I memorize lyrics fairly quickly, but sometimes I forget chord changes. So for me, writing things out in this manner are much more helpful for me because it allows me to then just keep in mind what exactly is happening with the chords specifically. It also gives me a chance to, if I'm playing this with someone else and I know I'm going to be playing maybe fancier versions of the chords, if there's only one chord happening in the measure, I could conceivably go, okay, so in this one, I'm gonna do this. And, give myself, 7. I'm gonna go all the way to the 7th fret, and I need one more. There we go. There. So that way I know, oh, that's another position of G, and I could give myself different positions next to the chords if I wanted, right? Another thing I could also do is if I'm to, so let's look at the B section, because this is actually one of the things I really wanted to bring up. So the B section again is starting here, where that B is. And so starting with how much does it cost? This G chord, I might want to notate on this, hey, I'm going to be playing it once. So you have a couple different ways you could do it. The way I probably would end up doing that is doing a quarter note symbol so that I know that's one beat, and then doing a fancy pants top hat over here with a dot. The fancy pants top hat with a dot is my a dotted half note rest, or half rest. So that's 3 beats of resting. I could also, instead of doing that, I'll write in red for this one, I could say 1 and then 2, 3, 4, and do like an X or something, so I know during beats 2, 3, and 4, don't do anything. Honestly, you can use music notation like I did, which is in black on that G chord, or you can come up with your own system. This piece of paper is really for your own way of remembering things, especially if you've got a lot of songs in your repertoire. You want to be able to make notes and notations on things so that you'll remember it when you come back to it again. But for me, these things I find helpful for playing and singing at the same time. If, let's say, I have the lyrics already under my belt, but I don't have the chord changes under my belt. The other reason I like this is it also allows me to be able to look at the song quickly and say, I'm only practicing the chorus now. And so I'll actually practice the song out of order frequently in order to make sure that I actually know all of my chord changes, or that I know all of my verses. So I might say second verse and try to make myself sing that. Okay? So there's that. Now I want to talk a little bit about strum patterns. Okay? When I first started talking about this song, I had said, that you want to make sure that you end up practicing, if you're going to sing lyrics, that you want to try to sing and play simply, because you're working on if you're working on this hand, trying to remember your chord changes, keep this as simple as possible, because if you try to do something new here and something new here, you're going to end up having a small scramble happen up here, and you'll end up messing up. You'll get frustrated, and then you'll say, oh, I can't do that. And you might put your instrument down, when it's really you just need to break it down further and spend time practicing one and then the other. Now for strum patterns, a lot of times we'll say to each other, oh, the down, down, up, down strum, right? What does that even mean? Unless you've been playing for a long time, Well, even me, I'll hear someone say that and say, play it for me, and then I'll just listen and figure it out. But if you have a hard time remembering strumming patterns, here's a way that I like to write them out that makes sense to me. So hopefully it will also make sense to you as well. What I tend to do is on the sheet, and I'm going to write down here where it says chorus, I'm going to, let's say I want to do an island strum over this song. And island strum is a very generic term. I'm going to show you what I call an island strum. It might not be what you call an island strum, and that is fine. So I write 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and I write the beats out. And then underneath it, I will write down, up, down, up, down, up, down. That was really messy, but that's okay. And up, right? So I will actually go through and make sure that I have that written out. Then I'll sit and try to analyze what on earth I'm doing. So I'll go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now one thing that I'm doing is keeping this hand constant as I go through. So not like that though. 1, okay, so I know I got to strum on the down, so then I'll circle that and say, okay, 1. I'll switch to red. It's easier to see. So 1 and 2 and, ooh, 2 and, 2 and. I know this is very exciting, but I find it super helpful. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 4. So then I can actually look at that, and if I keep this hand going continually and I just play where things are circled, it will always sound right. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and I can stay consistent. And if I have it written on my sheet like I do here, I can come back to the song and go, oh, was that strumming pattern? Oh, how convenient. I wrote it out in a way that will totally make sense again. And I could, circle, if you're wanting to come up, people always have, questions about strumming patterns. Well, how do you play X strumming pattern? How do you do this? The best thing to do is to be able to write it out, and you can make up your own even using the system. So for example, let's say I'm going to go to, I'm going to end up doing this. So I'm going to write out that a bunch of stuff. So 1 and 2 and 3, 4. And I'll still do the downs and the ups. At some point you might not need to draw these, but it's helpful. And let's say I'm just going to do some random stuff. Let's see. Let's do 2 and. Even something that simple. Let's try that. So if I just did, I'm going to hold a C chord. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That's pretty easy. Let's circle another one. Let's circle a 4. Let's see what it sounds like. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So this one kind of reminds me a little bit of reggae, especially if I was to cut off the notes, maybe using the muting technique that Craig has talked about in past live streams and workshops. So if I did 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I just made this up by circling the random numbers, and I might say, oh, this will totally work for X. So for me, the reason why I'm showing you this is just to give you a template so that you can then write out strumming patterns that you hear and try to figure out where within the beat you're strumming, because then later on, when you go to look at it again, you at least have it written out, and it's not just up, down, up, down, up, because when I hear that, I don't necessarily know where within the beat I'm playing, and that isn't as helpful as something like this, where I see it right away. So hopefully, does that make sense to everybody? All right, I'm going to go back to our song. Now for this one, I think I've talked about pretty much everything, all of the different steps that I like to take. So just to sort of bring it home, the steps that both Craig and I generally take are: record yourself playing just the rhythm. Then practice singing over that. You'll get used to what your chords will sound like. You get used to hearing the chord changes. Then you can, once you feel that you've got a good hold of the lyrics, maybe you have them memorized, or at least you know what words to expect next, you can start adding strumming to it. You can also definitely take the time to just practice only strumming as well, trying to get the strumming pattern down. And as you can see at the bottom of this where it says chorus, you'll see that you can write out a strumming pattern on your sheet so that then you can remember, oh, that's what I did. And as long as you keep this hand continually moving, even if you accidentally play outside of your strumming pattern, you'll still be in time and no one will know. Also, circling when the chords happen on the downbeat of each measure is super handy when you're trying to learn, and then you can also maybe emphasize that in your strumming when you're first starting out. Giving yourself notations like I did in this boxed chorus, where I actually notate on that G chord, play it once. You could also try making a box chart for yourself of some of those so that you know exactly how long each chord happens. But the main thing is break it down. Don't try to do everything all at once. Mm-hmm. That's really the big takeaway for playing and singing simultaneously. You're going to have to practice each one separately before you can put them together.
And when you're trying to memorize lyrics and everything, did you do the thing about putting it on a CD or on your phone?
So I did. I mentioned, and the other thing that I mentioned was, for me, when I'm memorizing lyrics, I'll take that, me strumming it, I'll put it in the car while I run errands, and sing in the car. There are multiple times that I do that, and even I had to learn a song in Japanese a while back, and that was quite difficult because I do not speak Japanese, but I spent the whole 9-hour flight listening to the song over and over again, writing it out phonetically as I was listening to it, and practicing that pronunciation. I wasn't going to have to play, which is why I could actually practice with the original recording of the song. But doing that and really focusing on one piece will make you much more successful at being able to play and sing at the same time. Yeah.
And just for fun, because I know a lot of people actually like this song too. Yeah. Could you actually just play through the song?
Let's play this song. And I'm going to play super boring strums. I'm not going to do, because I believe this song actually does something that is kind of hard. That's what he actually does. And it's a bit complicated. But we're going to keep things simple. And it is 2 pages. So we'll see if I can like flip to the other page. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sunshine, go away today. Don't feel much like dancing. Some man's gone, he's tried to run my life. Don't know what he's asking. He tells me I better get in line. Can't hear what he's saying. When I grow up, I'm gonna make him mine. These ain't dues I've been paying. How much does it cost? I'll buy it. The time is all we've lost. I'll try it. He can't even run his own life. I'll be damned if he'll run mine. Sunshine, sunshine, go away today. Don't feel much like dancing. Some man's gone, he's trying to run my life. Don't know what he's asking. Working starts to make me wonder where fruits of what I do are going. He says in love hearts he ain't showing. So the chorus, how much? How much does it cost? I'll buy it. The time is all we lost. I'll try it. He can't even run his own life. I'll be damned if he'll run mine. Sunshine, sunshine, come on back another day. Promise you I'll be singing. This old world, she's gonna turn around. Brand new bells will be ringing. How much? How much does it cost? I'll buy it. The time is all we lost. I'll try it. He can't even run his own life. I'll be damned if he'll run mine. Last verse, sunshine, come on back another day. Promise you I'll be singing. This old world, she's gonna turn around. Brand new bells will be ringing. Some C's, C, 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 end on a G. So that song, it's a really awesome tune. I believe the recording is actually in the key of A, if I remember correctly. But for ease of playing, I put it in G because not a lot of people enjoy playing that E chord. But did we want to do I'm a Believer one last time, just as our send-off? Awesome. Yeah. So this has been an awesome live stream. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We have had a really great time, and I have I'm a Believer up on the iPad if you wanted to put it up.
I wonder...
And we've got those other parts written out on the bottom of it. It's... and also, I have you. Some of you noticed this earlier. I noticed that we do have Neil Diamond as the person that wrote it, because yes, he is the one that wrote it. The Monkees, though, made it famous, and it's an adorable song. So, ooh, look at that. We have everything on here. So you'll notice at the bottom, we've got those different ones.
Now, again, for this guy, if you want to try again, that harder part for the chorus is that high G7 here, barring 7, with the finger on the 8th fret of the A string to
Do you
the
want to
G
be
shape.
bigger than me, Craig?
Let's see.
So they can see you better.
There
Yeah. Because I'm going to be simple.
Shift over this way. Now, and again, for the whole playing and singing at the same time, again, a lot of it has to do with getting down one part over the other first, getting that rhythm down, so that again, once you can keep that rhythm down, you can do anything, whether it's talk story or read the paper or focus on other things. But that's where we can separate, worrying about the lyrics and all that kind of stuff completely separate than what we're doing with our hands, because we have that muscle memory, we have that all set up. And again, don't be afraid to just start off with just hitting the downbeats rather than trying to do the crazy strums and whatnot too. I think some of the more crazy strums and voicings, I mean, even in the arrangement that we did for Lullaby, what was his name?
The Jim Bailoff song?
The Jim Bailoff song, where there's a lot of these kind of half strum, half picking things that I'm doing. Night is falling, all is quiet, time for lullabies. So I wrote this mellow. What was it? So I wrote this melody. So a lot of it has to do with knowing exactly where I'm gonna put the lyrics in, after those hits and whatnot. So a lot of time went to just getting the left and right hand down first, and then recording it and singing over my arrangement, trying to make sure I knew where I wanted things to fall. So as simple as complicated as you want it to be, try to get that down first, and then everything is easy, just trying to layer your voice over that.
And Thomas had asked a question about using numbers to vocalize. You could certainly do that, but if you're a beginner, do not worry about any of that. Just hum and say whatever vowel sounds you want. because you want to set yourself up for success. So you want to make things as simple as possible and break things down as much as you can, even if you're going through and practicing, just chord transitions to ensure that you know how to get from G to D. So don't overcomplicate the process for yourself. Try, again, keep it as simple as you can, and then you can start ramping it up by actually associating melody notes with the notes within the scale.
Awesome. And again, thank you guys so much for joining us,
Yes.
taking your time out of your Saturday to
Yes.
have some fun with
And
us
thank
before
you.
Easter Sunday.
We really hope that whatever you're celebrating, whether it's Easter or Passover, we wish you the best holiday this weekend.
So I'm going to be doing the high part for the
Yes.
chorus, and I'll noodle a little bit in between two. Let me
Okay.
sit cross-legged. All right, I'm set.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. I thought love was only true in fairy tales, meant for someone else, but not for me. Love was out to get me. That's the way it seemed. Disappointment haunted all my dreams. Then I saw her face. Now I'm a believer. Not a trace of doubt in my mind. I'm in love. Ooh, I'm a believer. I couldn't leave her if I tried. I thought love was more or less a given thing. Seems the more I gave, the less I got. What's the point of trying? All you get is pain. When I needed sunshine, I got rain. Then I saw her face. Now I'm a believer. Not a trace of doubt in my mind. I'm in love. Ooh, I'm a believer. I couldn't leave her if I tried. Let's do the chorus again. Then I saw her face. Now I'm a believer. Not a trace of doubt in my mind. I'm in love. Ooh, I'm a believer. I couldn't leave her if I tried. Awesome! Thank you all so much for joining us. We have had a wonderful time with you. Thank you guys also for sticking around, even though we had a little bit of a late start, but today was a lot of fun. Thank you to our Artist Work students for picking the topic of discussion for today as well.
Aloha.
Aloha! Woo!